For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Welcome back to Pleb Underground. This is episode 47. Rhymes flow like sand, non-Newtonian fluid. You wouldn't understand. First node was druid. Run a node, you choose what you discard. My rhymes are the deepest. I'm the abyss bard. I'm WALTON. We use the monetary network, that's open. Find a girl, but don't put her aside. Turn her over, enjoy the B-side. She's undulating like the seaside. Man, she killed it. D-side. She gave it an apple to her teacher. I showed her CarPlay as a feature. I told her once you go brown, you can't return to the clown. Now I'm on my way home. Internal time like a metronome. Simple harmonic motion. In-flight kid commotion. Thankful for noise-cancelling headphones. And Bitcoin maxi devotion. Devotion like a cult. Oppose the occult with full responsibility. Comes 100% fault. Almost all the memories fond, now flying back across the pond, delayed so it's a prolonged flight. State versus Bitcoin, that's a prolonged fight. Futurist vision, prolonged sight. How do I write when I'm always wrong? How can I slight when I sing along? Rise from the plight, you can be strong. Leverage is risky, fuck 100x long. Bitcoin plebs need to stay level, not wobbly like on stilts. Risk-free returns come not from T-bills nor gilts. Banks, funds, companies who sell insurance. Socialized losses enable the insurance that they'll take care of your money. We'll keep flocking to the bee like honey. We'll keep rocking to the beat, young money. A milli can be bought for about 3 honey. Multiple meanings, so my words always punny. Words and material flow like it's runny. Testosterone boosting, especially when sunny. Wait till 2030, a girlfriend for your bunny. Not like Hugh, no time to play boy. Endocrine disruption, don't say soy. Like Keats said, a thing of beauty as a joy. Forever, I don't mean to annoy. Passport like an envoy. Work for yourself and then employ. Fiat communication, pretend nicey-nicey. Fiat monies melt like icy-icy. Bitcoiners don't need bling. Fuck shitcoins.com has a nice ring. TEM with sign the waiver. Corporate politics for the favor. El Salvador is adopting Bitcoin the savior. Pleb Underground, #1 source. No one gravier.
Absolute fire, Walton. Great to have you back in home base. And guys, joining us today, fellow pleb and contributor to Pleb Underground, we've got Nick Reichert. Nick, thank you so much for joining us on the Pleb Underground, man.
Thank you. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Sweet, man. We really appreciate your contributions, guys. There are amazing articles that Nick writes. We're going to post links to his Substack, and of course, we're going to post links to his articles that we have published on Pleb Underground. But first, before we talk to Nick,
Phil, just one sec, just a reminder for the listeners that, of course, plebunderground.com, the new site, should be your new homepage, plebs. It's where you can find, of course, this show. There's weekly shows with me and Phil. Phil drops daily clips. We have some specials on there as well. But also, there's other shows, right? You've got Frito and LC's new show that I think should be called the Blue Collar Children of the Corn, but we'll see what happens there. What else have we got, Phil? Of course, we have a bunch of articles, like excellent writers like Nick, but there's a meme generator.
That's
Tell us
right.
more, Phil.
There's a meme generator on the show, and of course, like you said, it is the landing page for all of our Pleb Underground material. So if you want to check out our latest clips, the latest articles put out there by plebs, check out the Pleb Underground. And on that note, we are going to move on over to the numbers.
The numbers, of course, brought to you by Time Chain Stats and Time Chain Calendar. Phil, what do they look like this week?
At the time of this recording, the block height is 797,472. The Bitcoin price, or the Bitcoin fiat exchange, 30,295. Total public lightning capacity, 5,424.67. That's right, we're up a bit. Moscow time, 33:01. And the chain rewrite days, 724. And Walton, per your request, right now the minimum fee rate is 2.04 sats per VByte. So that is
Okay, so let's
happened,
start
Walton?
there. So, and I think this might actually be a nice segue into a story that you might have for the numbers, which is the numbers are coming down when it comes to paying for Bitcoin transactions. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the shitcoin has run out of money. Good job, guys. The system works. Nature has had order restored to it. Fuck shitcoins.
Yeah, no. We're actually going to talk about it on REKT because believe it or not, apparently the taproot lizards could not destroy Bitcoin. They think they broke it, but apparently they did not. But for the numbers, we do have plebs for the win. All right, guys, this is a tweet from Sean Harris. Who run the world, plebs? All right, well, I'm taking this out of context, but you know what? I figured for the numbers, Walton, we're actually going to show some freaking numbers this time because quite often we don't show numbers. We just show random stuff that we enjoy. So here we go. The Bitcoin supply distribution, right? The shrimps, less than 1 BTC, crabs, 1 to 10 BTC, octopus, 10 to 50. Okay. This is the shrimp net position change. And this beautiful red line that is just going all the way up like that. Like, take a look at this spike. Okay? Take a look at this spike in the last, 6 months? Guys, it's good stuff, man. People are stacking. This is fantastic. And let's take a look at the crab net positions.
But one sec, Phil.
Yeah.
One sec.
Yeah.
This is entities. Entities is not people. It's an important
people,
reminder
I
because
know.
people, you could have it's unlikely in exchanges, splitting up, thousands and thousands of Bitcoin into, 100,000 sat UTXOs.
Don't underestimate.
There are going to be some people that are going to be splitting up, stacks, and likewise there's going to be people merging, and so entities does not equal people. I think when you see the number of addresses containing, they say entities. I don't know. Again, is that being grouped via chain analysis? Maybe, but to how accurately can it do that? If you have essentially, this is showing that there's a rise of smaller UTXOs, which is going to naturally happen because over time the fee rates drop to send Bitcoin transactions. A little bit, right? And they have been as newer technology upgrades have been introduced, right? Fees have come down, and that means that enables smaller UTXOs to be moved at a smaller, percentage. What's the word? Like a smaller percentage of the actual UTXO, which for smaller UTXOs. That's more significant. Does that make sense? Like you don't want to have you're not going to pay I don't know, 1,000 sat fee if you want to move a 50,000 sat UTXO probably, but you might do it for 1,000,000 sat or what do you see what I mean? Like the depending on what the fees are dictate what size UTXOs you want to move because you're kind of proportionally losing a greater amount of your Bitcoin.
It definitely makes sense, but I enjoy my fantasy filtered, biased view that plebs are stacking. Nick, what are your thoughts? What's Nick's take on that?
I think there's probably some noise in the data, like Walton was saying, but I think if you look, it's sort of like CPI, right? It's a totally garbage number, but it does give you some directional data information. So, when you see the chart climbing up and to the right, I just look at that as adoption, and I think adoption is positive. It may not be entirely accurate, but it's probably directionally correct.
All right, so both the guest and my co-host did not really appreciate my Hopium / numbers conglomeration that I patchworked together. All right.
I always crack up at the expression up and to the right because time doesn't go backwards generally. So it doesn't go up and to the left. It doesn't go vertically upwards because, time goes on. So it has to go to the right. Yeah.
But
nonetheless, it's an expression that is pervasive through this sort of conversation.
This is true. All right, guys. All right. This wraps up the numbers, and we are going to move it on over to our Fireside Chat. That's right. We've renamed it. It is the Fireside Chat. The Fireside Chat is brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. Cyphersafe.io. The best way to store your seed. It's not paper. Store your seed in a steel backup. Virtually indestructible. Check it out. It is the Cypher Grid, and it comes complete with the punch tool. That's right, cyphersafe.io. If you appreciate quality Bitcoin art, check out the Bitcoin Rolo Triangle. It's made of 100% titanium, 16 ounces. You can get it at cyphersafe.io. That is the Bitcoin Rolo Triangle. Beautiful Bitcoin art made by fellow Bitcoiners. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. That's right, guys. We randomly renamed this segment, and from now on, it will be the Fireside Chat unless Walton decides differently. But anyways, joining us today, we've got a very special guest and fellow pleb and Bitcoiner and contributor to Pleb Underground, Nick Reichert. Nick, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
It's perfect. Not, very well done.
Thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks. It's great to be here. And like I said, I appreciate your support of my work. So, you guys have been great, and thanks for having me on the show.
We appreciate your work. We appreciate your perspective. Like I was telling you before the show, a lot, quite a few of the articles that you write, definitely, they make me think and they make me say, hey, why didn't I think of that? So I really appreciate it. But look, this is the part of the show where you're in the hot seat, and you've seen what happened to other guests. You saw what happened to Mark Goodwin. I mean,
yeah, I did.
Yeah, no. But
all right, Nick, shitcoin confessions.
Okay, well, I think we all go through our phases, and
no, we don't. But that's okay.
Well, okay. Some lucky people only buy Bitcoin from the beginning, but yeah, I did go through a shitcoin phase.
I think you can also be like super hesitant. I came at it from like being super skeptical that there's no real scarcity, and then you find out Bitcoin is the only one that has independently verifiable scarcity. Yeah. And at that point, do you see what I mean? So you can approach it from a different side, but I think it actually means that you can come slightly later, but you don't have a shitcoin phase, or you come in some hype cycle probably, whereas I feel like I came just after a hype cycle. Usually if you come in a bull market, you're probably more likely to have some shit coins in the early days, and that is the majority of people. Nonetheless, sir, confess.
Yeah. So I come at it more from a financial, more from a alternative investment sort of approach. I've been through a couple stock market wreckage, cycles, .com, great financial crisis. That's really what's prompted me to start my blog, was just what is happening here, and why does my net worth keep getting destroyed by 50% every so many years? And so that brought me to crypto. And so, I bought some of the coins, I bought Bitcoin, whatever. And like I was telling Phil at the top of or before the show, I bought like Bitcoin, I think at the end of 2017, right at the top, but I kept, buying, but I didn't really know what I owned until probably early 2021, when I started watching some of Michael Saylor's videos and really started thinking more deeply about it. And then once I started that's really when my education started. Otherwise, it was just buying an asset, that I thought I was diversifying my portfolio. And then once I started getting into that, then, you start going down the rabbit hole with all the other stuff.
Can I probe you just briefly on that? So that this concept of diversification, I think it's often misunderstood. It's like, people go, oh, I don't want to just own one equity. I'm going to buy an index fund because then I've got a few hundred equities. But what they don't understand is that the whole point of diversification is that you're trying to aim for assets not to be correlated in terms of how they move. and equities are often highly correlated, and so if you're not really reducing the probability of what is it essentially, downside, losses to your portfolio. There's a good chart in Ray Dalio's Principles where he shows that if you actually have uncorrelated assets and you have a few of them, that then you do reduce your downside. I think it can reduce the upside as well, but the point is that over time it means you're able to, I guess, draw down on what you hold. Unlike Bitcoiners, right? We're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat like basic food, but I'm gonna get natural things, cook it well, etc. And try not to spend money and then not draw down because I'm just holding Bitcoin and we're having drawdowns percentage wise in the short term in the fiat exchange rate, but we don't give a fuck because we're just holding for the long term anyway. But it sounds like you think about this from like a hedge fund kind of type standpoint, or that it is a hedge on other financial assets. And of course we saw Mr. Fink this week talking about it as such. Do you think his comments were significant?
Yeah, good old Larry. A few years ago, he said it was, nothing you want to get involved with. It's for drug dealers or whatever.
That's right.
I think it is significant in the sense that, it's kind of funny, actually. I think Odell says, don't count out greed, and corruption. Greed and corruption always win. And so, that's the thing is, I think BlackRock will get into this and all the other ones will get into it because there's money to be made. There's fees to be earned. They will.
There's front running to be done, right? You wonder how much Larry's been stacking the past few years. Now that then he made it available to institutional investors and hoping to make it available to retail investors soon. So Larry's got his bags like he does with so many other things, and then he's trying to flip it onto retail, just like all the VCs do with the tech IPOs, right? Like it's the same game.
Yeah, they've been doing private funds, I think, and piling coins up, and then now, so is it good for adoption? Yes. Is it bad in the sense that they control all the keys and people that put their money there don't really own Bitcoin, they own paper? And so, but I think, it helps drive a positive narrative. I think hopefully it drives adoption, but people are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, it's just like you were talking about the fees earlier, with the wizards. There was a lot of controversy over that. Like, we should stop them. And it's like, no, it's a free market system. Just wait till the fees get so high that that they can't afford to do it anymore, and then they'll come back down. It's the
thing I like about these paper Bitcoin bubbles is that because you can run a node, I think these bubbles always have to pop, and the visibility of kind of what's going on is greater. Whereas in the fiat world, you just get bubble after bubble because you can't run a node. You don't have the visibility. You can't hold your own keys. You can't hold your asset. Do you have a similar opinion? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think if you self-custody your Bitcoin, you know what you have. Nobody can take it away from you. I think I didn't think about this a lot, whenever, 2008 or whatever. I was just like, how do I protect my wealth? Well, nowadays, Nigel Farage, the Canadian truckers, I mean, you got to start like worrying, like what happens when the government just says, you know what, we don't really like what you're doing or what you're saying. And so account closed. And how are you going to deal with that? And if you have Bitcoin, you can at least, if you're in an ecosystem where you can buy what you need and trade and whatever, you can operate outside the system. So, I mean, there's just so much more to it than just a hedge to your investment portfolio. It's so much more than that. And so, and I think there's probably going to come a time where we're going to need it. CBDC rolls out, you know, government gets more authoritarian, says, you know, we don't really like all these people protesting all the time, so we're going to, you know, just monitor your bank account. You know, are you buying ammunition? Oh, no, 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 that's not allowed. You know, too much meat? No, no, no. So I mean, I'm kind of going on a little bit of a rant, but you know, I think bringing it back to Larry Fink and all that, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to welcome it as it's going to drive adoption. Hopefully, people will learn the message that don't buy that, buy Bitcoin and hold it yourself.
So we're going to switch gears a bit. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your Substack? Why did you start creating Bitcoin content?
Sure. So like I said, I had a blog for a while on, it was on Blogger, and then I switched over to Substack because I thought it was, you know, a better platform to write on. And so far it has been. Initially, I started writing about Bitcoin, but it was more sporadic. And I think as I've gotten, you know, more conviction, I've started, you know, I still do a little bit of other things, you know, every once in a while, I'll kind of check in on the real estate market because that's something I happen to be interested in personally. Or, you know, I'll do a monthly portfolio update, you know, just allocation and that sort of thing. But most of my writing is on Bitcoin. And again, it's really, you know, I think it's the reason why we do podcasts. It's the reason why we, you know, we write, we do whatever, you know, we feel can contribute to the knowledge, you know, that the people need to learn about Bitcoin and understand truly what it is, because there's so much misinformation in the media, you know, and you know, people still think it's just some wild speculation. I think more people are beginning to understand, you know, what it is and how it can be used, but it does require study, you know, and not a lot of people have the ability to sit down and commit the time that's needed, even if it's just watching, you know, Michael Saylor videos or watching Robert Breedlove episodes.
Do you think they actually don't have the ability, or just that they set low standards for themselves, or because of the pressures of the fiat world and the lack of support because everyone has to work and, you know, time's being stolen from us, etc., etc.? Do you actually think they don't have the ability, or just too much pressure and they don't believe themselves?
Walton, I'm with you on that. I think what it is people, everyone has the ability to learn. Everyone has the ability to understand. What happens in fiat clown world is you get caught up, you know, you're like, oh, I got to pick up the kids. I got to go to work. I got to go to this thing. oh, it's time to plan our vacation. And so you're, especially if you have young kids, as I remember when my kids were young, it was just constant, you know, and you just don't have time to think and to focus.
This is people's excuse for not working out usually as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened to me too. And I wasn't taking care of my health. And then I changed all that. You know, I said, I need to go to the gym and every day, no days off. I need to stay focused. I need to eat well, stay healthy. Because, you know, think about it. If you're not healthy in your body and your mind, you're good to nobody. You can't take care of your family. You can't take care of your friends. You can't do nothing. You can't even show up to work. You're not even productive. So I think that, and again, it's kind of funny how you get involved in Bitcoin and all of a sudden you start thinking about these different things. But yeah, I think people can learn. I think that they just get caught up in the whirlwind. They're not able to separate and go, wait a minute, what are my priorities? What's important here? Slow this down. You know, it's time preference. I think a lot of it too, right?
I think it's interesting that, you know, all of a sudden, first of all, I think that was very well said. And it brings up the idea, right, that it makes you want to be there for the future. And the only way that you can best ensure that you're there, right, to see this future is that you take care of yourself as best you can, right? And then, unfortunately, it's good luck and good genes.
Do you guys think do you guys think Bitcoin is the biggest catalyst for reducing time preference?
It's been a big one for me, you know, because you know, and this goes back to 2008, you know, again, when you you do what they say, right? Oh, I worked hard, I saved in my 401k, and then we had a financial crisis. And of course, they don't let you trade those things. 50% haircut. Okay, I'll keep saving, and then, oh, balance is looking pretty good. Up, another crisis, 50% haircut. So I was constantly worried about retirement. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to work until I'm dead? I don't worry about that anymore.
Yeah. I was going to say I had the similar type of feeling. I had everything inside a 401k. And then on top of that, my own trading. And to your point, I've gone through two financial crises, and it is, it's like essentially it's like every 10 to 12 years, you get a 50% haircut. Mm-hmm. So that means you have to continually, essentially, you at some point have to continue to double what you're putting in to make up for the inevitable 50% haircut you're going to take. Mm-hmm. So it's, I can honestly say
Phil, just wait till you hear about taxes. Just wait till you hear about taxes, dude.
Hey, listen, I'm from Canada, so I completely understand tax. Man, that paycheck is just like a fantasy. It's just a fake number. Oh gosh, that is absolutely brutal. I guess so. Besides your Substack, do you make any other Bitcoin content?
Yeah, I have a podcast that I do, and it's on all the platforms. I don't do guests because I do it Sunday mornings, it's mostly just I go through the news and I come up with a bunch of articles I think are interesting that are Bitcoin related, and I read them and I talk about them, give my takes, and it's just it's usually half an hour, no more than an hour a week. It helps me kind of stay on top of what's going on in Bitcoin, and then which is actually why I started doing it. But I think it's also helpful for people if you just want a quick. I do like a little market update at the beginning, and then I talk about the news and stuff like that. So it's I've been doing that
like now. Somewhere in between Phil's clips and our weekly show.
Yeah, basically, it's straight news and commentary, but it's very short, and I don't really get into a lot of other stuff in that. And so I've been doing that now. I think I got up to about 70 some episodes. So I've been doing it for a little over a year, and I really enjoy it. Like I said, it helps me stay on top of things. But I think, hopefully other people find it helpful to just plug in and listen to, half an hour of news every week.
Well, if you can, please give us the link, because obviously I'd like to put that in the show notes, and we'd be happy, Pleb Underground, to give your show some exposure. That's absolutely awesome. Man,
welcoming you to the family.
Yeah, exactly. You already write articles. Like, why not? Man, we're happy to share your podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely amazing. Okay. We are going to move from the Fireside Chat to REKT. REKT is brought to you by Crypto Cloaks. Check them out, cryptocloaks.com. Awesome 3D prints by fellow Bitcoiners. Check out the amazing 3D printed grenade. That's right. You can fit an Opidime, get the larger one, and you can fit a signing device / hardware wallet. Use the code PlebUnderground for 5% off at cryptocloaks.com, and use the affiliate link that is down in the show notes. Before we dive into the main portion of REKT, we've got a little bit of REKT here. Thank you, Walton. This was pretty funny. Let's take a look at this. It's a tweet from Predator. Hollywood actor.
Hey, you know how people look like their pets, right?
The resemblance is uncanny. Hollywood actor Seth Green was producing a Bay-C TV show. Seth Green's ape got hacked. The ape, whom was the main character of the show. Seth Green paid a huge ransom to get the ape back. So think about that for a second, right? To get a JPEG you didn't really own to begin with. And the show was canceled anyways. Even in isolation, each one of those points are hilarious. Indeed. This is just absolutely ridiculous. And the reason why we're starting off with this, right? The reason why we're starting off with this is because, as you know, as a lot of people know, and as we discussed previously in the show, we're talking about ordinals. And the reality is that, a lot of shitcoiners tried to paint Bitcoiners as upset, that there were ordinals. And sure, there were some people who were genuinely upset. But at the end of the day, right, it's exactly like what Nick, our guest, said. It's, hey, look, this is an open ledger. And if the rules allow it, that you can go and produce, and you can go and produce this type of whatever the hell you want to call ordinals, then so be it. So be it. But like a lot of us Bitcoiners said, it's just going to be a fad. It's just going to be a fad. So Vikingo tweeted this out. I'm very happy I don't see much about ordinals anymore. And that was on July 6th. And I think
if you don't know Vikingo is, I think, a Twitter Spaces legend, a good friend of mine from Twitter Spaces. But he has a collection of exotic birds. But one of his best pieces of advice is that people should stay solvent. And I think it's often forgotten, like, oh, okay, let's just go, let's just buy all the Bitcoin and then not have any money for, real things, and then start stacking credit debt, right? Maybe don't do that too much. Stay, you should be paying off your bills, and not getting too ahead of yourself, especially as, the cost of things start going up. Yes, stay solvent out there, guys, because that's the number one thing you need to do in order to protect your stack, right? To protect your savings, you must continue to have income. Do not forget this.
No, don't. All right. Back to the show here after our superhero message.
Public service announcement.
It was like a G.I. Joe infomercial. So here we go, guys. This might be part of the reason why the ordinals are fading away. Say hello to Ethscriptions. And here we go. If you don't know what Ethscriptions are, Adam McBride's got you. But you know what? Pleb Underground's got you. So we're going to dive into what this shit show is. Here we go. All right, guys. Say hello to the complete guide to Ethscriptions. Now, obviously, the link will be in the show notes if people want to go and rot their brains with reading through this entire thing like I did. So here we go. Ethscriptions is a new protocol designed to create NFTs and other digital assets on the Ethereum blockchain. Ethscriptions uses Ethereum's call data to enable a cost-effective, decentralized minting process that is cheaper and more streamlined than conventional smart contract methods. Drawing inspiration from Bitcoin's ordinals, where assets are referred to as inscriptions. Ethscriptions, very clever naming, guys. Users to Ethscribe. Wow. They came up with that all on their own. Images directly onto the Ethereum main chain. Like Bitcoin ordinals, Ethscriptions pushes the boundaries of blockchain technology beyond financial transactions. I don't even know how I said that with a straight face. While ordinals use Bitcoin's transaction data, Ethscriptions leverages Ethereum's call data. The Ethereum community enthusiasm for innovation and experimentation played a vital role in the overwhelming acceptance of Ethscriptions. Unlike the mixed response Bitcoin ordinals received from Bitcoin maximalists, everything's made into like some petty little pissing contest, isn't it? If you were the owner of the Ethscription when you sent the transfer transaction, the Ethscription's ownership should update on the official site. Unauthorized transfers are ignored. So if you understood that about Ethscriptions, you understood that there's a third party. So if the third party says that your Ethscription doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. So that's great. That's wonderful. It sounds a lot. Anyways, that's okay. The possibilities it presents are immense. From its initial limitation to inscribe images, Ethscriptions aims to incorporate other file types in the future, opening up a wide range of potential applications and shitcoining. Its swift adoption and the Ethereum community's support for such innovation initiatives underscores the growing appreciation for blockchain technology. Okay, so hold on. Okay?
So what you're saying, Phil, is it sounds like...
Sorry, hold on 1 second, right? So all they really wanted to do was find a cheaper way, right, to grift. And now they're going to do the grift that didn't quite work on Bitcoin as well as they thought because it cost too much money. So they're moving back, in my eyes, they're moving back to ETH, where it's cheap crap, where
to me, Phil, the fact that like it's shit that's cheaper isn't relevant unless it's literal shit, because then you could burn it and mine actual Bitcoin. Like otherwise, you've just got some cheap shit.
Speaking of cheap shits, let's go take a look at some of it. Let's go take a look at some of this. Ooh, wait, is there an actual picture there? Let's do a refresh on that. All I could say is this is some quality art. This is there. I honestly, I don't even have to give a comment. Like, guys, this is so sad and so pathetic.
Wait, is that because most of them are formatting errors? Is that why they're not showing? That's funny.
Honestly,
so the browser of it doesn't see them properly. I'm guessing it looked like I'm not a coder, but it looked like a bunch of like code type thing that wasn't getting kind of read properly, and that's why it was getting displayed as just the code. It's like, you know, when you go to an ATM and it's showing like Windows 95 instead of like the, you know, whatever it is, like, you know what I mean?
It looks like this one's trying though.
It's just trying but failing.
It's trying.
Legacy banking system. Here you go.
That's like that's the shitcoiner mantra right there. It's trying. Anyways. Okay, so we just learned about Ethscriptions. I mean, look, to Walton's point, right? Let's face it, this is crap. It doesn't bother me that they went back to Ethereum. I couldn't give a shit. I'm just making fun of them on REKT because I can. But yeah, Nick, curious on your thoughts. I mean, just, you know, Ordinals and this other thing that's the exact same thing, but just slightly crappier and cheaper to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I guess supposedly these JPEGs that you can right click save, you know, have some kind of scarcity, but and I don't know. I mean, I don't think they do, and that therefore you shouldn't. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you put them on the Bitcoin blockchain or you put them on Ethereum. It's the same thing. They fundamentally, in my mind anyway, don't really have any value. I mean, it's not like an original Basquiat painting or something like that, you know, like a one of a kind physical asset, you know, and so anyway, I you know, they can have fun. I'll pass. I'll just keep stacking Bitcoin.
Agreed. Walton, were you aware of these Ethscriptions?
Yeah, I had actually heard of this, and to me, I see it as the shitcoin as like fucking off. I'm quite happy about it. I guess what's REKT is the fact that they're once again believing the scam that that anything other than Bitcoin is censorship resistant, right? That's who's getting wrecked is people falling for that scam, because ultimately all of these other chains are not decentralized and so therefore do not have proper censorship resistance. And so these people once again have gotten wrecked by going back to Ethereum. Once again, have fun staying poor.
So yeah, no, very well said. And it's just, you know, as you're explaining that, I can't help but think that, you know, essentially it's the same thing. It's the same theme playing out again. You can't rug pull on Bitcoin the way that you can rug pull on Ethereum and all these other shit chains. So for me, the way I see it is that they couldn't figure out a way to rug pull, which means you had to actually get people to buy these stupid JPEGs that they don't own. Right. And to create some type of a value proposition behind the inscriptions and the ordinals. And since really that's incredibly difficult to do because it's, you know, it's an open ledger. So you have enough time for people to figure out that it's bullshit. And they can see it happening in real time. So the best way to do this with some type of efficacy and speed, they can do this on Ethereum. Right. Because on Ethereum, they can rug pull. They can do it a whole lot faster. And they can, you know, essentially just continue to pretend that they're innovating and making the world a better place. I'm sorry. It's so depressing. But yeah, guys, we had to cover it. Okay. We had to cover it on REKT. Don't be mad at me. Ethscriptions. It's a shitcoin. It's all a shitcoin. All right, guys, that wraps up REKT. And we are going to move on over to the Hopium.
The Hopium. Up next, we have Hopium, sponsored by Represent. Represent are a clothing, apparel, and accessories brand owned by a Bitcoiner, producing some excellent items. Here we see the Taco Pleb Underground, Pleb Tacos, Represent, limited edition shirt that you can't buy, but you can get things almost as cool if you head over to representltd.com and use the code PlebUnderground. You'll get a discount on all of the goodies. Once again, that's representltd with the code PlebUnderground. Welcome back to Hopium. Of course, there is one story and one story only this week. I'm not sure I really agree, but there is only one story if you're looking at the fiat world news. BlackRock talking about Bitcoin. Who at BlackRock? Oh, it's not just the CIO Rick Ryder. It is actually the big lizard man himself, Larry Fink. Now, let's have a look at what Larry had to say. I'm going to be sharing here some excellent reporting from one of my favorite kind of Bitcoin reporters, shall we say, on Twitter, and of course that is Predator. So here we have on Fox News, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink talking about Bitcoin and shitcoins. Let's hear what he has to say.
And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold in many ways. Instead of investing in gold as a hedge against inflation, a hedge against the onerous problems of any one country, or the devaluation of your currency, whatever country you're in. Let's be clear, Bitcoin is an international asset. It's not based on any one currency. And so it can represent an asset that people can play as an alternative. I would call the foundation of BlackRock is about hope. You invest for retirement because you believe tomorrow is better than today. And also, I do believe the role of crypto.
Larry essentially repeating points that plebs have been saying for years and years and years and years and years. Why? Because as I said earlier in the show, I think Larry's been filling his bags, and now it's time to recruit some retail to dump on. What better time to wait until all the shitcoin funds have collapsed and the price has come down, that the institutions can come in, hoover it all up, and then start selling paper Bitcoin. Guys, be very wary. Of course, there are already ETFs in other countries around the world. There are ETFs in Canada and the Netherlands and a few others, but there is not yet an ETF for spot Bitcoin in the United States, although the futures ETFs, I think, keep getting approved. Why? Because what are the point of these ETFs? Ultimately, they're tools that centralized financial institutions have often used to suppress the price of things. What happened to gold? Why did gold fail, guys? It was because the asset gold, the hard asset, was custodied by central custodians, and they diluted it with paper gold on top. We can't let the same thing happen. Is this hopium? Is this actually a good thing? Be careful. Yes, it may be advertising for Bitcoin and may get Bitcoin into the minds of more people, but that doesn't mean that the kind of cyclical nature of the price going up and down is over, because of course the initial people that start adopting something like Bitcoin after they hear this sort of thing aren't the people that understand that they need to hodl it or how to look after it. They're going to give it to custodians, etc. We have the same sort of cycles that we've had before, where people don't understand initially, not your keys, not your coins. That takes some time. And I think people should be very wary. I think we need to keep promoting self-custody. And I think we'll watch, right? ETFs are meant to be that you can exchange it for the actual asset, right? We'll see how that goes.
Nick, what are your thoughts on this Bitcoin ETF?
Yeah, I think what I love is that BlackRock is hope. That was just a shameless ripoff from Bitcoin is hope, which is something that I think we all believe in. So, but yeah, I agree. I think maybe it's good in terms of promoting adoption, getting better awareness, but people do need to learn there's a big difference between, owning shares in, say, a BlackRock ETF than, owning the coins yourself. That's an educational process that we have to continue to push on. But don't, greed is the fundamental thing that drives, the asset, and it works in different ways for different people. It attracts people, they learn, they understand it better, they lower their time preference. And so Wall Street's got the same motivations, and I think, they expect to make a lot of money on it. There's going to be fees to be made. It's going to be diversification for, pension funds. I mean, for pension funds that are invested in long-term treasuries, there's probably no better play. There's probably a lower risk, play for them to get out of that and get into Bitcoin. So it could drive the price. It could, make the, maybe we actually get a real top this time, like a real blow off top, like we kind of got cut off in the last cycle. But, I think it's still going to be very cyclical. People are going to get probably wrecked in that too. Maybe it's better than the futures one. The futures one's total garbage. I mean, every time the options roll off, you just keep losing money. I don't even know why they approve those. It's just a place for Wall Street to make money. So anyway, Hopium is really about driving adoption and awareness, and then being very careful not to like, oh, I think I'm going to buy that. No, buy your Bitcoin from a Bitcoin, only company, put it in cold storage.
Very well said. Very well said. I mean, but both.
Yeah, and don't just get blown off in the bull market, right? That can happen in the bear market too, guys. Come on, keep building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, I mean, I'm gonna agree with both of you, and also just to add, right? Like Larry Fink is not a friend to Bitcoin, right? Like BlackRock doesn't give a shit about Bitcoin. We are all here for different reasons. Okay, like these guys, to both of your guys' points, this is all about financialization, right? This is all about monetization of the asset. This is all about increasing their net worth, and that's perfectly fine, because Bitcoin works with greed. But I think it's going to become very interesting, because we're already hearing some of these social attack narratives, like the BlackRock fork. And stuff like that. No, they're going to make an ESG fork. Mm-hmm. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I personally, I couldn't care less. I mean, they can fork and do whatever the hell they want. Okay. Like they absolutely can. To me, it doesn't make a difference, because none of it is Bitcoin. And I secretly hope that they do try doing stupid things like this, because number one, it's going to be incredibly entertaining. Number two, it's going to give me extra bags I can dump, right? Hey, look at that. Get to dump some bags. But you know what?
Walk around and find out.
That's right. Walk around and find out. But it's true. But look, I secretly hope that they do this, because I would love to see them fail. A lot of people didn't read the Block Size War or didn't listen to the audiobook. And then there's a bunch of people that weren't there either during that time. And I have to say that having been there and read the book, I found it, like it was by far one of the most, in my eyes, instrumental moments in Bitcoin. And because, to be honest, I had been trained to just believe, well, the companies are all signing for this. They're all on board. Right. So that's it. Right. Like they're going to change this to whatever it is. And here we go. And that's not what happened. And for the first time ever, I was like, wow, this thing is real. People said no, and it didn't happen. And it worked. And they were able to stand up against these corporations, and these people just, these businesses pounded sand. So I think it can happen again. I don't care how big BlackRock is. I just don't. I think this is going to be an interesting lesson for us all. So Anyways, I
Question.
Yeah.
Do you think how much do you reckon Larry's actually got? Like, I mean, obviously we're guessing here, right? Just completely guessing.
what do you think? He's a crab?
How much could Larry reasonably have? Like, I mean, I would guess a 5-figure amount personally.
Hold it in cold storage, Walton.
Huh? Who knows? Like, I mean, like these guys. I don't know. Larry's not stupid, right? Like. He could buy, through a bunch of shell companies buying some off some OTC desk, right? Like there's I don't know, like there's potential, right? That he could. That I just wonder. Again, he's now talking about it. That means that like he's probably got a position that he wants to be bolstered by retail money.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we won't see, right? Maybe, but
So what do you think he has?
It'll be an interesting thing to kind of watch over time, because over time it will matter, right? Like eventually, like the size of the Bitcoin stack will actually really matter for everyone, because that's where the majority of wealth will end up, or so we think. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the fiat kings of asset holders, become, the king asset holders in the Bitcoinized world. We'll see.
I hope not. And now I'm trying to think of a number that I think he has, and for some reason I'm thinking like 25. But that's just
I reckon like 10,000 or 20,000. Like I think he
has 10,000 himself or 20,000 BTC.
I don't know. I think a low 5-figure number isn't. What's the math? What is it? It's 30,000. So that's like, we're talking like $300 million. I think it's not unreasonable for someone like Larry Fink, who's worth what, like 10 billion? I don't know. Like he's got more. I don't know the numbers, but it's certainly in the billions. We're talking then if it's 300 million out of if it's 300 million out of 10 billion, that's only 3%. Like, I don't think this thing is crazy. Like, and again, OTC, you can buy this stuff KYC free or not so attached, especially through a bunch of shell companies. And this guy's an expert in occluding his own finances, I would imagine.
His net worth is $1 billion. I just checked.
Okay, so $1 billion. Okay, maybe then I'm a little bit, but I don't know. Again, over time, right? This guy has maybe some of the best traders on the planet working for him, etc., right? We don't know. We don't know what's possible. We do know what's possible, but he certainly doesn't have 21 million. And is he going to hold on to it? I don't think so. He's going to try and dump it because he probably, again, has enough money that it's just about flexing power.
It's a trade. It's for those guys. It's a trade. So if he bought a bunch cheap and then retail comes in and buys the ETF and pumps it, he's going to dump it.
But it's about a flex, I think. Ultimately, these guys these guys have enough wealth that they can kind of do whatever they want, and so then it becomes power games. You see the same kind of stuff with Elon. You see the same kind of stuff with Bill Gates. Like at some point, billionaires just start going, "Hey, I can buy anything I want, or people will give it to me for free because they're simps. So I'm just going to start taking things forcibly from people because that's the only way that I can get some kind of kick." Like, it's disgusting. And yeah, get fucked, quite frankly. Like plebs are going to keep on stacking. And yeah, stay humble, guys. Stay solvent. Keep stacking.
Yeah, very well said. They are not here for we are not the same. They are not here for the same reasons as us. All right, everybody, that wraps up the Hopium, and it wraps up today's episode. But before we do, Nick, how do the viewers find you? Where do they find you? We're going to post the links in the details, but just to say it right now.
Okay, sure. You can find me at bitcoinfortress.substack.com. I'm also on Twitter at Nick Reichert, and my podcast is called Bitcoin Fortress, and it's on all the platforms.
Thank you very much.
And just to be clear, you are in no way affiliated with Fortress Trust, the Prime Trust rebrand.
No, not at all. It's funny. I started my blog. It was called Building a Financial Fortress, and then I rebranded it to Bitcoin Fortress because you don't really need anything else. So that's kind of how I came up on the name. But yeah, no affiliation whatsoever to Fortress Trust.
They infinity scammed you, bastards.
Yeah.
Some good wisdom there, though. Some good wisdom. All right, guys. that wraps it up. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us fight the evil YouTube algorithms. That's right. Fuckshitcoins.com. And don't forget to check out our audio-only episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, you can stream us sats through Breeze on Fountain with Fountain.fm. Guys, I'm going to catch you all next week. Walton, how do we end this?
Fuck shit coins. See you next week.
That's right, everybody. See you next week.